fine.
Yeah, but yeah,
You sure?
it's got a pretty, it's pretty.
You like the ambience here with the light? Because
You know, I was just saying, like, that's what is making this documentary. There's a lot of professional stuff mixed in with,
sure,
you know,
sure.
and bad light and all that kind of stuff is going to play a part.
The Blair Witch.
Exactly. It's got that syndrome in it.
Now I'm going to give us some sound here, George, and it may just blast out at us.
Update on the markets yesterday. The TSC 300 rose more than 87 points. The Dow rose nearly 111, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ climbed nearly 46.
Awesome. Great. Could you
And
get
in
a minute?
Tokyo, the Nikkei dropped
We have a
34
theme song
points
by
at this
Tribute
morning's
Band,
close.
Street and Spice and everything.
From the broadcast
they did a
news
song
business
for us,
desk, I'm
which
Nina
is
Chandler.
very...
Oh, really?
Yeah. Get a minute. We have a couple of minutes.
Okay, I don't know how we can play that, though.
So not during the thing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, excellent. All right, that's great.
Flashing ice cream in 1,000 bits of glass and twisted metal on a dark stretch of Highway 17. Think of any other winter sounds? Think safety first. The safety of Subaru all-wheel drive.
What a ham spread.
We call it McValue, and you can only get it at McDonald's.
If you swear, I can edit it over here. I've got my dump button.
And participate in McDonald's.
It's the way the sun makes every snowflake smile. It's the perfect term of bicycle.
Caller line.
Brand new.
Okay, Bill, does the caller know we have the guest? Okay, one of your...
You'll find comfort in our color choices. Pratt & Lambert's full moon, Iris silver lining.
It's only morning open line. The Rick Smith Show. Call 345-TALK. That's 345-8255. Opinions expressed by the host, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of this station. Here's your host, Rick Smith. Well, hello, good morning, and welcome to this, a Thursday, December 28th, the year 2000 edition of the Rick Smith Show. We have a guest in our studio, and as we normally do when we play host, we ask you to restrict your calls, your questions, your comments to the area of discussion that our guest is here to involve himself in. 345-TALK, 345-8255, star 580 on the Thunder Bay Mobility Network. And if you're calling long distance, call collect. We'll pay the bill. The area code, if you need it, is 807, and the number is the same, 345-TALK. Plugs you into our guest, George Marcello, who has been getting a great deal of press since his arrival here in Thunder Bay. The Thunder Bay Post headlines, Cross Canada Trek to raise awareness of organ and tissue donations. The Chronicle Journal headline, Organ Donation, a question of life and death. And if I may read from a column penned in the Thunder Bay Post by Frank Puglia, George Marcello's life was saved by an organ transplant when he only had 2 days to live. A very dramatic story that George Marcello has to tell. Let's talk about George Marcello, if we may, rather than the cause that you're here to promote. That is a tremendously dramatic story. 2 days to live, and you were aware of that at the time, or did they tell you later?
Well, good morning, Thunder Bay. Actually, I was getting myself prepared for that eventual day. 3 years earlier before that, I was diagnosed with terminal liver disease. That was in '92, and it was during a regular medical checkup, and I came away with the news that half my liver was getting eaten away by a virus, and they told me that, I probably had about 3 years left to live at that point. Wow. And there was no treatment or cure, as is the case with most liver diseases. So, and they told me my only possible hope was a transplant. And after discovering all the grim realities of transplants in Canada, my, hopes didn't brighten up that much more.
Yes, exactly.
So on that day, August of '95, that was like the third time that year that I was driven to the hospital with liver failure. It was probably my final episode, and I was told that I probably have a couple of days left to live, and I think I pretty well got myself adjusted to the fact that
you were about to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that time, were you aware of a frantic search for a liver?
I
How
was aware of the system, you know, what system was put in place. I knew that when you became the sickest, and you know, in a situation like mine, I would be moved to the front of the line, which is our system here in Canada. So, you know, I knew that that's what was taking place at that
Yes.
point. But I also met, Rick, a lot of people that were on the waiting list and in a similar situation, and they got rushed to the hospital and were put to the front of the list and passed away.
Yes, yes.
I met many, many, many people. So.
And also, George, you would probably have had an opportunity to meet some people that you passed in the lineup to be placed at the head of that line that you knew were right behind you.
That's right. That's right. And you know, it's sort of I don't know. It's the there's kind of a camaraderie that's built.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and we all know what we're going through.
Yep.
You know, and we all know that one day we're going to get rushed to the hospital because our organ's going to fail, whether it's a heart, whether it's a lung, and that we're going to be put in the front of the line, and you know, we all know that that day's going to come sooner or later for us, and you know, like I said, you try and adjust to the reality, and you know, do the best that you can.
So, someone passed away and had signed a card that enabled them to donate that person's liver to you. You have no idea who that was.
No, I have no.
You're hesitating.
Yeah, because what happens is, you know, when you're waking up in the hospital after the surgery and everything, there's a bit of talk around the hospital about where it possibly could have come from.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a feeling of where it might have come from.
Oh, isn't that
Yeah.
fascinating?
So
But you can't pursue
I cannot pursue that. I am keeping that within, you know, my you know,
Yes.
and my thoughts, and
Yes.
you know, and I'm actually trying to change that.
Yes, and I want to address that. But first of all, let's establish that Canada has a pretty lousy record when it comes to organ donations.
Yes, they do.
Any reason why? Is it pinpointed a...
I think it comes down to two areas. We as a country have not embraced the spirit of organ transplantation. We have not accepted that it's a cure, and we have not done all the proper things needed to. Well, our government has hesitated to have this at the forefront as a priority, and they have not done the proper things needed to do to go about and make an increase. So as a result, we don't have a lot of education and awareness brought to Canadians about this. And I'm sure that if there was the proper education and the proper awareness brought to each Canadian and the right system, things would dramatically change in this country.
You've met Gary Cooper?
Yes, I have. I had the pleasure.
One look at that face, that smiling face, and there's no doubt about the curative impact of transplants.
Yes.
Because I saw Gary just before he went down to Toronto for his transplant. And that's not the same face I'm looking at today, that's for sure.
That's correct. And you'll probably see that in most recipients, you know, from very, very drastically sick and
That's right.
to miraculously healthy.
Yeah. Bill, do I have to take a break here? I don't? Okay, then I'll turn to a caller who's been waiting patiently on line number 1. Good morning, caller. Hello.
Hi, Alicia.
Okay, Alicia, can you really speak up because we're having a hard time hearing you here? That's better. Okay, go ahead. You say it's important for people to know about them. And why do you say that, Alicia? Have you had any personal experience with organ donations? And how did your friend make out? Oh dear, so he died for the lack of an organ donation. Well, I certainly agree with you that if there's more awareness, more people would quite willingly do what it takes to donate that organ. Thank you very much for speaking out on behalf of organ donations, Alicia.
Thanks, Alicia.
Have a good day. Do you know Alicia?
Oh, yes, I do. Alicia was the girl that met me at the Terry Fox lookout
Okay.
when I entered town on that morning of December 15th.
And walked with you.
And walked with me all the way from Terry Fox lookout the 20 kilometers into the City Hall where we had our scheduled press conference
Wonderful.
at 2:30. And she's just brought so much encouragement meeting Alicia and just the act that she did, and it's just so incredible, you know.
Yes.
And I was also invited to Christmas dinner with the Fajak family and all their relatives, and way out in Kakabuka.
Kakabeka?
Yeah, just outside of there, and I got to meet, you know, all the cousins and uncles, and you know, and everybody, and I had a great time. Really warm feeling.
Great,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you for the meals, guys.
I've been remiss because, of course, I'm assuming that everybody is aware that you are on a cross-Canada trek, and I'll deal with that. But first, let's see who's on line number 2 here. Caller, good morning to you. Hi. Okay.
Window of opportunity in each case differs. You know, when a person passes away,
Cause of death,
Cause of-
health of the person who
exactly.
died.
So it differs. It's anywhere between 24 hours to 36 hours sometimes at the
Wow.
the best
But the window
scenarios.
of opportunity, the
Could get
longest time is
about-
just a matter of hours.
Yeah, it could be a matter of hours. So depending on you know, a lot of different situations, but the thing that should be focused on here, because this is a very interesting question, because I've run into a lot of people that are very concerned whether their organs in these parts are going to reach in time, whether there's any use at all in signing a donor card, knowing that their organs might
Good
not.
question.
Yeah, and this has been a very big concern, and I've been trying to address this to the appropriate people, that this should be looked at, and it's the question of getting a retrieval center here in these parts, you know, and to so that it would serve to ultimately help save more lives and put people's concerns that yes, in any of these parts, in the northern Ontario parts, that organs will arrive there in time because we do have the appropriate place. At this point, that's, you know, there's reason to be concerned, you know. So I'm hoping that that will be addressed, and that, you know, we can put people's concerns at rest.
Because the interesting issue here, George, is that if a person in Thunder Bay needs a transplant, he can't get it here either.
No, it can't. He'd have
So he's got to go most likely to Toronto, I assume would be the most prevalent occurrence, a flight to Toronto. So that local organ donor would have to get that organ to the local retrieval center, and that retrieval center would have to get it to Toronto in time to save that person's life here.
That's correct.
Yeah. Sure thing. Donor 9-3? Oh, 9Z. Oh. I suppose that's a way of just numbering the donors. I thought you said 93, and I hope there's more than 93 donors in the province of Ontario. Z's.
I'm not sure what
No.
what that means, but
Yeah.
the idea of signing your health card would be to, have that on your person, in your wallet, and, so there could be identification found, letting the people know that that you were a donor organ, or you were permitting people to donate your organs.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. That's a fine gesture you're making.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Over to line one caller. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Focus and emphasis on the best
Yeah.
system here. We wanted to even go further than that and develop a data bank, a registry, where we would be able to register everybody's wish, and people would be trained to just click on the computer or whatever access they have to one, and find out at that point whether
There isn't now.
No, there isn't.
Appalling.
There isn't.
Just appalling. Now, George, we have a cancer, and caller, we have a cancer society, we have a kidney foundation, we have the arthritis society. We don't have an organ donor society. There is no organization, no formal organization, is there, that encourages people to donate organs?
In these parts?
Yeah.
Well, Gary Cooper has an organization, and I think it's
Oh, I'm thinking on a broad level. There isn't the equivalent to the Cancer Society.
Yes. No, we don't have an ad.
Otherwise, we crank up the stickers and we do all of these things.
Yeah.
Create the registry.
We don't have that national organization that is looking after these much needed things. We have a number of national organizations, and they're smaller organizations that are trying to do things, but they don't have the agenda to take care of all these very important
Fundraising
things.
ability. alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Caller, thank you very much for that. I think I have to take a break now, don't I? Okay, we'll be right back.
Driving by
Yeah,
Reed's
interesting.
Countrywide today, you may notice all the activity going on inside the store. Well, Reed's staff is hard at work. They're working.
Listen, I will, just in case I forget, you want to give some credits there, I'll let you do that now, because I'd hate to realize, oh my gosh, we got
Okay,
60 seconds,
that's a good
gotta
idea.
get out of here.
Yep.
Being open wide. And
I broke my promise.
You're going to find huge boxing wheat sticks like lazy.
that registry, we're going to need the federal government to take action. And one of the problems that we have here in Canada is that we have to approach the family for the final decision. And almost 50% of the times the family's vetoing that decision because they're approached at the worst time possible to make, a very important decision.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put the focus on making that decision legitimate and binding before the tragedy, so that when it's discussed, people are in the right state of mind.
Exactly.
And this is where most of my energies have been directed towards. And we're hoping to get, the federal government to respond to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because now that's not a time to hit them with that kind of a question.
No, it's not.
You look like a buzzard swooping down.
Exactly. There's that thought of there's an accident and a tragedy, and you should have that time for more,
Yeah.
and not the thoughts, well, can we get some organs here? Or, it's crazy why we're still,
That's getting
Yeah.
below Fahrenheit.
The Rick Smith Show continues on Thunder Bay's news, sports, and entertainment station, 580 CKPR. Call 345-TALK, 345-8255.
Your guest on the Rick Smith Show this morning, George Marcello, who is crossing Canada to raise awareness of organ and tissue donations. And caller on line number 2, if I can ask you to just hang in there and be patient for just a moment, because George wants to give some credits where credits are due this morning.
Yes, thank you very much, and yes, they are due. It wouldn't be possible for me to do this trek across Canada without the help of all these people that I'm going to mention. Thank you very much for some delicious meals at the Keg, Bistro One, Bar Italia, Caribou, Fat Cats, Armando's, the Brew Pub, Eastside Mario's. Thank you very much, Italian Cultural Center. Thank you very much, Health Science North, for giving me accommodations and use of your facilities there for this week and a half. Thank you very much, Tractor Trailer. Thank you very much, Alicia and the rest of the Fawchuk family. Thank you very much, Tom and Donna Cava. Thank you, Dennis Pelichuk. Thank you, Gary Cooper. Thank you, Joel Camusi, Lynn Cloud, Michael Gravel. Thank you, Bishop Colley. Thank you, County Fair Plaza. Thank you, Lena from Traffic at the Police Department. Thank you, Intercity Shopping Center, for helping us do this event on January 2nd and 3rd there. Thank you, Da Vinci Center. And thank you, Frank Puglia and Nova Puglia, for helping me out.
Well, certainly Frank Puglia, in his column in the Thunder Bay Post, has made a great contribution to the awareness that you are seeking for your cause. There's no question about that. To that caller on line number 2. Caller, go ahead, please. Yes, good morning.
There is a bone marrow registry, first of all, which would be an excellent idea to have an organ registry, a worldwide organ registry. So once you get on that registry, then if they find that you're a candidate to help save somebody's life, then there's a procedure that you go through afterwards. Like, you don't get picked. You go through a series of tests before you get right to the actual that you could be possibly helping save that person's life. And that would be a great idea, to have the same kind of system for all organs. That's correct. Here's another problem that's arising in Northern Ontario. We had a case in North Bay where a little 7-year-old girl needed a bone marrow transplant, and she had about 3 weeks left to live. And we were trying to get as many people to sign up as possible candidates. And one of the other things that we were trying to do was push a petition so that we can get easier access for a registry around this area, so that, because everything, when you think about all these things, they're all down south,
Yes, that's right.
and it's crazy that and I've gone through almost every town here in Northern Ontario. It's crazy that it's thinking that people are living up here, there's wilderness and igloos, and which isn't the case, and there isn't enough attention brought to these parts with the health needs and the health care, and I'm very glad that these things are being discussed in the Ontario legislature and given the attention that they are, and I hope that things will turn around in these areas.
Caller, thank you for raising that. It is interesting how we take so many things for granted. I until I have been talking about your plight and your travels, I thought you signed something in your driver's license. That's how much attention I've paid to this issue.
Well, here's again another thing where if we had our governments taking the action that they should have, when they transferred from the driver's license to the health card, they should have did a big campaign.
Absolutely.
and let every single person know about that, and this is how much importance was needed to do something like this. I've had about 80% of the public not knowing that it's in your health card,
Yeah.
and that shouldn't be, that
Absolutely.
shouldn't be. So there, the awareness and education that is so much needed isn't there, and this is one of our main focuses with the walk. We're trying to get all 3 levels of government to say, look, please start paying attention to this and start getting some proper action done so that we can save more lives.
George Marcello, your guest in the studio. We turn to a guest on line 1. Caller, go ahead, please. Hi. Knowing who the donor was. it's almost equivalent to the issue of an adopted child, knowing who her real parents were. What is the status of that?
Well, at present, the only means of communication is through a screen letter, and that is a screen letter where you can write a letter, not revealing too much about yourself.
Okay, you being the recipient.
Me being the recipient.
Okay.
Can write that thank you note.
Okay.
And it is, brought to another person that brings it to the family, but they screen it to make sure that there isn't any relevant information that could be found out who you are. And that is brought to the donor family. And that is our only means of communication at this point, and that's a shame. We should have an option available similar to the guidelines with the adoption rules. I've talked to hundreds of donor families that have a real desire to meet the recipient for completeness, continuance, and so many good reasons. And recipients like myself have a desire to meet that family. There should be an option available, and we're calling this mutual consent, that if the desires are mutual, and with the right guidelines, there should be an option available for a meeting to take place at some point in time, a physical meeting. And that would certainly bring a lot of incentiveness to the public to become organ donors, knowing at some point in time that the family could meet the recipient.
Are there dangers here that they're recognizing? I'm thinking of the family who lost a son, but that son's organ lives on, so the family now has the feeling that they have a new son in the recipient, and that those two parents of that deceased boy could swamp the recipient's life. They could take over his life and want to put you through school and want to you to become part of the family and just take over your life.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that could come up, good and bad. And I'm looking at there's more good things than bad things.
Okay.
I think, though, what we should have available is the option at least to seek those things. Right now we're prohibited from even experiencing whether it will be good or bad.
Yes.
And my feeling is that most of it would be good. I think, with the right guidelines in making that meeting happen, that eventually, for the most part, it will be good. We're not going to have perfect meetings all the time, but for the long run, I think it is something very essential, and that's another part of my shopping list that I bring into the federal government to address.
Would you feel that a first step would be a means whereby they could communicate on an anonymous basis? That you could say, without giving your name and your address, you could say, okay, I'm a baker and I live in Belleville, Ontario, and I have 2 children, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that could be part of the guidelines in leading up to a possible meeting.
Yes.
When I say that Canada has not embraced this and has not taken the steps, to put a lot of things into action, we don't have to invent the wheel here with some of these things. There's countries and some states that are doing things like that presently, and things are working very well in their respective countries and states. And that
and phone calls, and you can find out whether it's been a disaster or a success then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Precisely.
So I think the idea of that this has been too long in the background, and we should bring it right up to the forefront, and make it a priority now. There's too many lives that have been could have got saved. There's too many organs that have gone underground, wasted, with individuals' wishes that wanting their organs to get donated, and then there's too much that has happened in in the last 20 years, and we need to take some immediate steps to start changing that.
Have you talked to many people, George, who have told you why they are reluctant to sign that card, and have you been able to convince them that their argument is erroneous?
Well, one thing, I made a rule not to convince anybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is a very personal decision. What I do is just leave a decision to be made, sort of thing, and I try and bring as much of the positiveness of that decision as I possibly can. The final thing is that the individual has to make that decision, and it's a very personal one. And I've talked to thousands and thousands of people, and I'll tell you right now, 99% of the people I've talked to are not reluctant to make that decision. They're very pro in making that decision. A lot of people just don't understand the present system that we have and how things get carried out. That's why, once again, I'm saying that we need a better system in this country.
Tell me about your walk. You started in the province of Ontario.
Yes, I did. We started on June 20th in Toronto, and we had a ceremonial lighting of the torch. It's called the Torch of Life. It's an authentic Olympic torch, and our mayor, Mel Lastman, lit the torch, and afterwards he massaged my feet. I don't know if that's a Jewish thing. You know, we were on our way, and I covered about 140 cities and towns thus far in Ontario alone, and today is actually day 193. And you know, by the end of January, I'll be crossing into Manitoba and walking towards Victoria. And when I reach Victoria, we're trying to arrange with the military to put me on a flight, and we're also trying to arrange to make 2 stopovers. These are pretty ambitious plans, but I see no boundaries in this. We're going to try and make a stop in Rome to get an audience with the Pope.
Well,
and after that, we're going to try and make a stop into London to get an audience with the Queen and get both of them to, you know, support organ donations, which I know the Pope already has done. And I'm pretty sure that the Queen will have similar feelings. And then afterwards, they can drop me off at St. John's, Newfoundland, and I'll finish walking through the Maritimes, through Quebec, and then back to Toronto, and that'll probably be by the end of December of 2001.
well, have you met our mayor?
Yes, I have.
Did he massage your feet?
No, he didn't. I didn't put it to him.
You didn't make that request.
No, I didn't.
If you want to leave our audience with one singular thought,
Think about it. And discuss this, you know, decision and feeling with your family. At present time, we have a system where we have to approach the family for the final decision.
yes,
And certainly, this is an issue that affects every single Canadian at one time or another, whether you're the person that's donating or the person receiving. And we need to rally as many people as we can to get the government to create the best system here in our country that we can possibly have.
if I can end as I began by quoting Frank Poulia, by signing a donor card, each one of us has the power to free people from dialysis machines, restore sight, and save lives. Informing our families of this so that they can respect our wishes also a meaningful way to avoid unnecessary sorrow during a difficult time and help increase awareness about the need for organ donations. The life that may be saved one day could happen to be your own. George Marcello, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Thunder Bay. I love you. It's been great here.
Good to hear that. Excellent. Excellent, excellent.
You've been listening to the Rick Show on 580.
Well, that's what's going to do it. We need talk shows like this.
You need an organization, though, eh?
Yeah, we do.
There's the recurring thought, as you're talking about somebody to battle for this data bank registry, somebody to battle for that law, this, You need an organization.
Yeah. Well,
Capable of raising funds, capable of buying the bloody stickers and putting out the pamphlets.
and it needs to be a massive campaign, like from coast to coast.
Can't be fragmented.
No, you can't. So, that's our mission,
Yep.
is to try and be part of igniting that.
Boy, if that came about as a result, that group would live on far beyond you and I, and that would be tremendous.
And the other part is the people that are on those waiting lists, to give them as much hope as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you have a minute, if you wanted to listen to our theme song.
Oh, yes, I would. Yeah.
Minus Morissette, there was about 16 in total. Yeah, we met them during our trek.
I thought it was on the...
And I'm 17 years old. I have autoimmune hepatitis. I hope that possibly I won't have to get a liver transplant.
These diseases affect everyone. You know, it could happen to you. It's basically the message. So do what you can to help out.